Hello there, my beautiful garden, and welcome back to Written in the Stars. I'm so grateful you're here today. Today's episode is one that is very close to my heart because we're talking about something that completely changed my life. We're talking about spiritual awakening, but not the pretty version you see all over social media. Not the version where suddenly everything is magical and you have all the answers. We're talking about the spiritual awakening no one warns you about. The messy part, the painful part, the lonely part. The part where your entire world begins to crumble so a new one can be built. Much like the Tower card in the tarot. And honestly, if you're listening to this episode today, there is a reason Spirit guided you here. Because chances are, you're either going through an awakening right now, or you're about to begin one. So get comfortable, grab your iced chai latte, or your water, and your favorite cozy blanket, and let's dive in. So we all have heard about spiritual awakening. What is it? How does it work? And people telling their stories or top 5 signs you're going through your spiritual awakening, and you get a lot of great information from those. I don't discredit those videos at all. I'm not here to put down other content creators because I think we're all doing a great job. We're all amazing. And so, yeah, you can learn a lot from those. However, you don't really know until you're in it. A spiritual awakening is not becoming someone new, even though it seems that way. You're still you. It's just remembering who you've always been. So it's basically the process of peeling away years of conditioning, wounds, fear, trauma, and expectations. It's waking up to the realization that there is more to life than what you've been taught. And sometimes that realization comes gently, but many times it comes through pain. Pain such as heartbreak, loss, endings. Those moments where you feel like your life is falling apart, where you feel like you're at this crossroads and you're not quite sure where to go. It's almost like this confusion that comes over you, but clarity at the same time. I would say it's like a confusion with clarity at the same time. Sometimes it's so hard to describe, to put it into words. What most people don't realize is that awakening often begins with a crisis. So, trigger warning, I am going to go into a little bit of what happened to me in 2012, and then I did go through my spiritual awakening, and for many years I did believe that there was something wrong with my brain because I had brain injuries. And so I thought I was seeing things, and I thought, again, it was due to an injury. So trigger warning, I am going to talk a little bit about domestic violence in this podcast. It is my story to tell, and I do want to share it for anyone who has experienced this or has gone through this. It's not easy for me to talk about because I do have PTSD. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I may cry, I may have to take a moment or take a break for my mental health here and there, take deep pauses, but I just want to put that trigger warning out there first. So my crisis started in the major crisis was in January 2012. My son's birthday was coming up, my middle son, and I was in a very toxic relationship, very, very toxic. I was also toxic and he was toxic. We were both toxic together. One more than the other, but we were both still toxic. I'm not an angel either, and I had a lot to grow from. However, this one particular night, he beat me up so bad, and even the pleas for my life because I didn't want my children to lose their mother did not make him stop. He dragged me up and down the hallway by my hair. He had a gun pointed in my face. He threw me from one end of the kitchen to another, punched me multiple times, slapped me multiple times. I had broken blood vessels in my eye. I had swollen eyes, black eyes, and it was something. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, especially a female because he's quite a bit bigger than myself. So that was a major crisis in my life, and something that was so terrible. I've been through abuse and I've been through bad things before, but this, I'm telling you, I almost lost my life, and it was terrifying. And then it makes it more terrifying when you have small children, and the thought that that was the last time you were going to tell them that you love them, or that they got to see you, or you got to see them, and you're going to die, and they're going to have to hear what happened to mommy. That does something to your soul as a mother. It does something to your heart. It's I can't even put that into words either. But I don't want to harp on that too much because I am getting emotional. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not shy to show my emotions. However, I want to move along on the podcast and just let you know that was a major crisis for me. And it shook me to my core. It did. It wasn't just some simple breakup or betrayal. It was a very dark time. Very dark time. And I realized that I was on a path that I needed to get out of. And not only that, I was drinking. You know, the kids would go to the grandparents, and they were at the grandparents at this time too when this happened. And me and my karmic partner, I'll just refer to them as that, would go out and we would drink. I wasn't a drinker before this person. I'm not saying that that's their fault. That's my problem, but I wasn't. It's 3:03 as I'm looking at the time, and I'm recording this on June 9th, which is a 6 and a 9, reminds me of the yin and yang. And I just feel the need to call those numbers out. I'm like that. If I get a message or a download in the middle of me talking, I'm going to call it out so I don't forget. So life didn't look right. It didn't feel right. And then I went through my awakening. I started asking deeper questions. I remember in a desperate attempt, because I was also a smoker. Thank you. I don't smoke anymore. Thank you, Lord. I don't smoke anymore. And if you do right now, look, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just trying to use a coping mechanism, and you can quit. I'm not here to tell you you better quit and that's disgusting. No, it takes time. It would be great for you to quit, but it takes time, so don't beat yourself up. Somebody might need to hear that. Don't beat yourself up. One day at a time. But in a desperate attempt to quit smoking and drinking, I went on YouTube. YouTube looked really different in 2012. It's crazy how much things have changed since 2012, but it looked really different back then. You can even send like someone personal, like DMs, like personal messages on there. It was pretty cool. But anyway, why does that even matter? But anyway, it looked different back then. And so I went to YouTube on my TV. I think it was through the PlayStation or something. Or Xbox. I think it was through an Xbox, actually. So an Xbox. And I found some hypnosis videos. And I had heard about like hypnosis growing up. I didn't really understand what it was. And I didn't know about meditation. But I started with hypnosis videos, trying to get myself to quit drinking and smoking. So this was the beginning of my awakening. Because that started leading me down to meditating and all this stuff. Also met my divine masculine that same year, which I'll go into that in another time. But I started asking myself questions, who am I? Why am I here? Why am I with this person? What in me made me choose this lifestyle? What is my purpose? What does all of this mean? Why is life like this? Why wasn't my dad in my life? Why was my mom the way that she was? Why do certain things happen to me? Aside from the things that I would cause, because we do cause things in our own life, but why do we cause those things? What is in us to make us cause those things? So a lot of questions that I'm asking myself, and you're probably asking yourself too, and that is where the awakening begins. So for me, again, my awakening really began in 2012. And at that time, I had no idea what was happening. I was just pretty much going with the flow. Me, a control freak, going with the flow. Because I was tired. After all that happened to me, I was exhausted. It's emotionally and mentally exhausting. I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I must be having a spiritual awakening. Oh, I'm a guru now. No, it wasn't. I love Buddha. It wasn't like that. What I experienced was a lot of confusion and questions that I had, and feelings I couldn't explain, and this other person that we came into each other's lives, and that was a whole thing in and of itself. They were there. They saw what happened to me. And I'll never forget, I went into work like this, and I think, if this happened to one of my children, I would have not allowed them to go into work. I would have told them to stay home and let's pursue legal pursuits. And I probably would be in prison. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's, if anyone did that to my child, one of my children, or touched a hair on their head like that, I think I would lose my mind. But I went into work, dropped my kids off at the babysitters and school. And I remember showing Jennifer, one of my friends, there. I remember standing outside with her, and I had sunglasses on, and it was raining that day. It was dark outside, and it was the morning, and I lifted up my sunglasses, and her face, she looked like she had seen, she was watching a horror movie, because my face was really beat up. It was bad. It was really bad. I'm not exaggerating when I say it was bad. You wouldn't want to see it. It looked scary. It was hard for me to look in the mirror. Not because, oh, I'm disfigured. It was you could see the level of brutality and the violence that was inflicted upon my face. And yeah, it was bad. So anyway, I just went to work, and I went and I talked to the boss, the head boss, and I asked him if I could keep my sunglasses on because my partner had beat me up. And when I asked him that, I took off my sunglasses and I showed him my face, and he also was in shock. And this is a big guy. He's like over 6 feet, and I think he played football in high school, and he looked shocked. He looked like he had never seen that before. And he asked me, did you leave him and all that stuff? And I said, yeah, but I lied, and because I hadn't left him yet, because I needed the house, and it was my grandparents' house, and I didn't want him to get the house. That's a whole thing, okay? But I came out, and my divine masculine was there, and I remember he offered me a Bob Dylan CD, and I love Bob Dylan. I do. I'm a fan. Um, but he handed me a CD to listen to. And I'll never forget that because it was like music has always been something I listen to when I'm in pain or I need comfort. And just that little kindness, it gave me some comfort. So, this going through this was, it's a long story, y'all, and it would be multiple episodes. So I may do it in sections. But that's the gist of how my spiritual awakening started. And meeting him was like looking into a mirror. I felt like I had known him before, and it triggered something deep inside of me. Something very spiritual. Also, it triggered my need for wanting to have protection. You know, someone to protect and love me and never lay a hand on me too, because that's a whole nother thing. But this connection with my divine masculine, along with the spiritual awakening, it challenged me in ways I never expected. So I had emotions coming to the surface that I had buried for years, and it forced me to look at parts of myself I had avoided. And that's something many people don't understand about these beautiful soul connections. They're not just about romance, they're catalysts. They awaken us, they trigger healing, they expose our wounds. They show us what still needs love, they show us our childhood baggage. Looking back now, I can see that meeting him was one of the major turning points in my spiritual journey. It was one of the moments Spirit used to wake me up, along with that crisis. And although it wasn't easy, I wouldn't change it because it led me to where I am today, talking to you on this podcast, still alive, at least for now. Knock on wood. I hope that's real wood. It's probably particle board. Oh, well, let's get into the childhood wounds we carry. Another thing nobody warns you about is that spiritual awakening often forces you to revisit your childhood. And for some of us, that's incredibly painful. I survived a difficult childhood, and for years I thought survival was enough. I thought I could just keep moving forward, keep functioning, keep putting one foot in front of the other. Everything would be fine. But awakening doesn't allow us to keep stuffing our wounds away, right? It shines a light on them. It asks us to acknowledge them. It asks us to heal them, and that's not easy. There were moments where I had to confront old memories, things that I thought I had swept under the rug. Realizing how badly my mom treated me. Realizing that because my dad wasn't around and he was an alcoholic, that I may be repeating some of these patterns, and I chose a partner that was very similar to my dad, even having the same zodiac sign. It's Virgo, in case you wanted to know. So, those old feelings of not being enough, those old fears, that old pain, it's hard to deal with. There were moments where I had to stop blaming myself for things that happened to me. I was also taught to blame myself for things that happened to me. There were moments that I had to learn that survival and healing are two different things. Surviving gets you through. Much like when you drink alcohol or you smoke cigarettes, you're just getting through your day, the pain, the pressure, the loneliness, the boredom. You're just getting through. You think you're fixing it, but what happens when you wake up the next day? Your problems are still there. But you know what? You just pick that drink back up and you smoke. And for a little while, they're not there until the next day comes. I heard a quote one time that says, drinking today is like borrowing happiness from tomorrow. Drinking today is like borrowing happiness from tomorrow. And it's true, because then you wake up with a hangover and you sometimes miss a whole day because you have to lay in bed. I do not miss those days at all. Healing transforms you, and it's hard as hell. Healing transforms you. And awakening is often the bridge between the two. You know, sometimes awakening feels lonely. One of the hardest parts of spiritual awakening is loneliness. And the reason why is because when you begin changing, you'll notice that your priorities change, your interests change, the way you see the world and the people that you once called family, that changes too. And suddenly, they don't resonate with you anymore. Conversations that once felt meaningful begin to feel shallow. They don't really have any substance. Places that once felt comfortable no longer feel right. Drinking no longer feels right. It disgusts you. Hangovers, they get worse, and it's like, why am I doing this? Your body rejects it even harder the next time and the next time. And the smoking just leaves this terrible smell on your clothes, and you notice it, and it gets stronger every day, and to the point where you can't even stand smelling your own self. You start craving authenticity. You start craving depth, purpose, truth. And sometimes that means outgrowing people, old habits, places, things. Now, this doesn't make anyone bad. It just means that your soul is evolving. But it can feel incredibly lonely. There were times on my journey where I felt like nobody understood what I was experiencing, and I didn't have a lot of support. And I live in the woods. I moved out here to the woods to run away. I ran away from my hometown. I miss it sometimes, but there's a lot of freedom here. And I work with my land, and I plant, and I garden, and I run with my animals, and I spend time with my family, and it's very peaceful. I don't run into anyone that I know. Everyone I meet is a new person. They don't know me. And there's a freedom and a peace in that. However, again, it can be lonely. So I would question myself. Why aren't things getting better? Why aren't they moving faster? I wondered if I was losing my mind. But eventually I learned that awakening often requires periods of solitude. I wanted YouTube again. I wanted to come back. I wanted to connect with people again. I wanted to help people through my readings again, but I had to be in solitude. I had to be in hermit mode, like the hermit card in the tarot. I had to go within. And I thought Spirit was abandoning me. I thought God was turning his back on me. But what was happening is I was being introduced to myself. Yeah, definitely. Because I like who I am now a lot. I'm still me. Still got a little bit of sass. But you know what? I'm a better version. I'm an upgraded version. I'm a healthier version in mind, body, and spirit. I still got some more work to do. So let's talk about signs you're going through an awakening. So some of the common signs you may be experiencing during your spiritual awakening that point to possibly a spiritual awakening is if you keep seeing synchronicities, repeating numbers. My first number that I ever saw, I looked over. I was actually with my divine masculine in the parking lot. I looked over and I saw 222 on a license plate. You'll be seeing meaningful signs. You'll be hearing like your radio's talking to you. I've said that before. The lyrics in the songs just get louder, and it's like, wait, I just went through this 10 minutes ago and now the song is talking about it. And I have brought this up before in another podcast episode. I forget which one, forgive me, but Patience by Guns N' Roses was a big one that would come up for me. You become more intuitive. You can sense energy differently. You start questioning everything you've been taught. You become sensitive to certain people or environments. And you may have been sensitive. You're probably like, Black Rose, I've been sensitive since I walked out of the womb. Okay, boo thing. I hear you. I feel you on that. Me too. But now you're even more sensitive to certain people or environments. You have a whole new fresh pair of spiritual eyes, let me tell you. And things look different. They taste different. Food is different. It's like, where have I been living? Some days, y'all, I wanted to go back to drinking so I could not be awakened. I wanted to reverse Uno my awakening. I did. I wanted to reverse Uno my awakening because I did not. I used to tell myself all the time, it was a lot better when I was drinking and smoking and I didn't know a damn thing about spirituality when I was a zombie. It was a lot better. And sometimes when you think about it, because they say ignorance is bliss. Yeah, there's some truth to that. I mean, this is amazing, living in this spiritual growth and leveling up, and the tears and the pain and the transformation. It's amazing. Don't get me wrong. However, I will say, because there's pros and cons to everything, I will say life seemed easier. Probably because I was a lazy ass and not doing my spiritual work. But life seemed easier. Like you just knew you were in a shitty relationship. And I just knew I had a shitty job. And I just knew I was going to come home and I was going to make dinner. And I was going to do the same damn thing every day. And I was going to drink and I was going to smoke and I was going to have a dopamine hit and feel good for like 3 hours. And then I was going to have a hangover and do it all over again. That's what I knew. But with the spiritual journey, it's like newness all the time and different things popping up. And now I know astrology, and it's like the astrology's affected me and I'm seeing it happening in real time, and I'm asking God for blessings one day, and 5 hours later, there they come. And it's like nothing. It's amazing going through a spiritual awakening, but it is not for the faint of heart. And if you do have a faint heart, your heart will be strong on the other side. So don't worry if you got a faint heart, boo thing. You will come out really, really strong with beautiful boundaries. But you start questioning everything you've been taught, even your religion. You feel so drawn to spirituality. You feel drawn to tarot cards and crystals and incense, and you just want to know everything. You want to know how things work. You want to know more about God. I feel like I've never been as close to God as I am now. And God saved my life that night. There is no reason that I should be here doing this podcast if you all would have seen what happened to me. And there's more. There's car accidents on purpose after someone was drinking. Not me, my ex, where I could have not been here anymore. So I look at those things and I say, there must have been a purpose. There must have been a reason I was saved. And I was. And I noticed patterns. And I've always been a dreamer, but my dreams are even more vivid, and there's like more symbols and numbers and things in my dreams than I ever saw before. And you feel called towards your purpose. That was a big thing for me. And perhaps the biggest sign of all, you no longer want to settle for a life that isn't aligned with your soul. This one's hard. Like I said, you don't want to settle, but when that alignment, it hurts. Think about if any of you have had braces. I did not wear my retainer, so my bad. My teeth have shifted a little bit. I did not wear my damn retainer, and I can't stand it. I'm going to take a sip of my chai. So if you've had braces, they have to align them. You have to go in for a visit. I think mine was like once a month. And you get your little rubber bands changed back in the day. Match your outfits. Pink and black. But you get your teeth aligned. It's painful. It is so painful, but it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. And that's what I feel like alignment is with your soul. Braces for your soul. Now let's talk about the part nobody wants to discuss, the dark night of the soul. I was leading into that probably. You intuitive little soul, you. This is the phase where everything feels uncertain. You feel disconnected, lost, confused, want to punch people in the face. No, that was just me. You may even feel spiritually abandoned. But what is actually happening is transformation. Imagine a caterpillar. Reminds me of that Caterpillar Girl song by The Cure, which I love. I love that song. Anyway, imagine a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Before it can fly, it must completely dissolve inside the cocoon. That process is not pretty. It's messy. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And that's what awakening often feels like. The old version of you is dissolving, not because you're being punished, because you're being transformed. So you want to know how I survived? I've had questions from the past from, subscribers and coming to me for private readings and asking me questions. We get very candid with each other. Black Rose, how did you get through all of this? By the way, it's 3:28. Just thought I would mention that. 3:28. So they would say, you've been through a lot, because I was open with a lot of my boo things. Childhood struggles, heartbreak, awakening, uncertainty. The truth is, I didn't survive because I always felt strong. In the middle of it all, I felt really weak. Really weak. Especially these past couple of years, I went through a really big shift and change. And the truth is, I didn't survive because I always felt strong. I survived because I kept going. I kept getting up out of bed. I kept forcing myself to make the bed so I wouldn't lay back in it and just cry all day. Like a sad, depressed potato. I kept going. Even on days when I was scared, when I doubted myself, even on days when I couldn't see the bigger picture, I kept choosing to move forward. Little by little, step by step. Ooh, girl. Some of y'all are too young to know. New Kids on the Block. But prayer by prayer and tear by tear, and I tell you what they say, tears make your eyelashes grow long, and I got some long ass eyelashes, and I believe it. And they're natural. I grew falsies because I cried so much. So you want some long natural eyelashes? Just cry. Just go through your spiritual awakening. You'll come out beautiful with long, luxurious eyelashes, girl. And boy and boo thing. So eventually those tiny steps added up. I started trusting myself again. I started trusting spirit. I started realizing that everything I survived was preparing me for something greater. And here I am with a podcast, with, I'm getting emotional. So I'm going to leave it in the show because it's important. Yesterday, I just decided to post some videos on Instagram just because while I was cooking dinner. I had posted them on YouTube and TikTok already, and I'm proud. I'm growing on TikTok. I think I have 106 followers, and YouTube, I looked, it was like at 31. Instagram, overnight, I gained 126 followers, I think, or 123, either 126 or 123 overnight and into the morning, not even 24 hours. Some of my videos are at over 3,000 views. And I did not expect that. And something pulled me back to doing this again. My mom does not approve of this, and I was really attacked by a lot of people. And when I saw all of that, I knew. I just knew this is where I'm meant to be. And this is why I went through everything that was so hard. Because I'm supposed to come back. And that loneliness and that struggling with alcohol and all of that I went through, it's 333, by the way. There's a lot of numbers showing up today. But all of that I went through, it was getting me prepared to come help you guys. And that's really important to me, because I know there's a lot of people that don't have the chance or the opportunities that I do. And I feel that I'm here to guide you and let you know that if I can do it, you can do it. And I know it's hard. And I know you can't see like the positive yet, but it will come. And I don't want you to give up. So I just want to thank everybody who is following me and loving and commenting, because I just appreciate it. And this is what I've always wanted to do, and I wanted to turn my pain into teachings and into positivity and into encouragement for people that don't have a voice. I want to be that voice. So I'm letting you know that I started realizing everything I survived is preparing me for something greater. Not because suffering is required, but because resilience creates wisdom, and wisdom becomes medicine for others, for all of you. That's why we're the garden. Because we're growing and we're blooming. And sometimes the most beautiful flowers grow out of mud and dirt, like we do out of pain and suffering. Now I need to go blow my nose Well, I'm sniffling in your ear. Hopefully, you're not listening to this when you're trying to go to bed and now you're mad at me. But if you're listening today and you're going through an awakening, I want you to hear this. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt like the Tower card. You are not lost. You are being redirected. You are not being abandoned. You are being guided. The confusion will pass. The fear will pass. The uncertainty will pass. And one day, you'll look back and realize that what felt like the end was actually the beginning. The beginning of becoming who you were always meant to be. Thank you so much for joining me today on Written in the Stars. If this episode resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Think about how far you've come. Think about everything you've survived. Think about the strength that already exists within you. And remember this, your awakening is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Spirit has not forgotten you. Your soul has a purpose. You are important, boo thing. You are important. You were born for a reason. Just because people don't know how to love you and appreciate you doesn't mean that God doesn't love you. And your story isn't over. Until next time, beautiful garden. Keep trusting the signs, keep following your intuition, and keep looking to the stars. I love you all very, very much. If no one's told you today, many, many blessings, and take care. Until next time.